Hello guys, greetings from Placement Scheme. I welcome you all to the lecture series on TCS and QT. Now I'll be covering the exact questions that were asked on 27th October, slot 1. I've already uploaded the questions based on quants earlier, so please do watch the video if you have not watched them yet. Now I'll be covering questions based on logical ability. What is the wrong term in the following series? So if we look at these terms, CZE, and then we have ETG, HOJ, LKM, QHS and WFY. It's always better to replace these alphabets with their corresponding position numbers. So these are their corresponding position numbers, right? Now let's try to identify the pattern here. If you look at it carefully, we see that the difference between the first and the last alphabet position numbers is always 2. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So here also 5 plus 2 is 7. 8 plus 2 is 10. 12, 13, there is only one difference. Okay, now 17 plus 2 is 19. 23 plus 2 is 25. So clearly LKM is the odd man out, right? But let's also see what is a pattern for the second alphabet, right? So we have 26 here, which is Z, and then we have 20 here, we have 15, and then 11, and then 8, and then 6. So these are the corresponding position numbers of the alphabets in the middle, right? Now what do we have? We have minus 6 here, and the difference is minus 5 here, the difference is minus 4, the difference is minus 3, the difference is minus 2. So this clearly forms a pattern and there is no anomaly as such, right? But there was some problem with the first and the last terms. The first and the last alphabets in LKM. Okay, the difference is only 1, whereas in all the other cases the difference is 2. Therefore LKM is the odd man out. 7 friends A, B, C, D, E, F and G play one of the 7 musical instruments: guitar, flute, dholak, congo, piano, drums and violin, and we have got a few constraints, right? What are we supposed to find? We are supposed to find who plays the guitar. Who plays the guitar? We know that each of the 7 friends, they play exactly one of the 7 musical instruments. Okay, they play only one of the 7 musical instruments. Now if you look at it clearly, we know that F plays violin. So let me first write down who are all the friends: A, B, C, D, E, F and G, right? We know that F plays the piano, so therefore he can't play guitar, so I'm eliminating F. Similarly, we know D plays the drums, therefore D also can't play the guitar. Okay, what else? And clearly it's given that A does not play the guitar. Okay, A also does not play the guitar, and E and G do not play the guitar. E and G do not play guitar, so E is gone and G is gone. So clearly all the constraints are done, and E does not play the congo. It doesn't really affect whether he plays the guitar or not. Therefore we are not really considering this constraint. Clearly we have considered all the other constraints and we have found out that only either B or C can play the guitar. Therefore who plays the guitar? It is either B or C, considering all the constraints. Okay, now for your understanding, let me also try to fill in the grid. Okay, for answering the question in the exam this should suffice, right? But still let's also do it clearly. So we have 7 friends. Now we know clearly that D plays the drums. Okay, D plays the drums, so drums I'm eliminating here. Next, F plays the piano, so F plays the piano, so piano also I'm striking it off, and F plays the piano. What else we have? We have E and G do not play violin, flute and guitar. E and G do not play guitar, flute and violin. Therefore clearly E and G have to play what? Only either dholak or congo, right? Because piano and drums are already taken by someone else. Therefore, E and G should play either dholak or congo, out of which we know that E does not play the congo. E does not play the congo. Therefore, E should play dholak. E should play dholak, whereas G should play the congo. So these are also done, right? Now what else? We have only violin, guitar and flute to be filled by A, B and C. And we clearly know that A does not play guitar. A does not play guitar. Okay. Therefore, either B or C should play guitar. Okay. So A does not play guitar. So what are the other instruments that are remaining? We know that if not guitar, we have what? We have flute or violin. So A supposed to play flute or violin, right? So this is how we can fill in the grid. Okay. Even after filling the grid, we've got the same thing. Either B or C can play the guitar, right? In a certain code, P plus Q means P is the husband of Q. P minus Q means P is the daughter of Q. P by Q means P is the wife of Q. So on and so forth. Yeah. So if A plus B minus C by D, then which of the following is true? Okay. So let's see. A plus B. What does A plus B mean? A is the husband of B. So A is the husband of B. Okay. So the standard conventions are this is for males and then this for females and then this is for husband-wife relationship and the equals to is for sibling relationship and then we have this for the next generation. Okay, so here since they were husband and wife, I'm using this symbol. Okay, and then B minus C. Minus is for what? Daughter, right? So B minus C, so B is the daughter of C. This is what we have. And then finally C by D, that is C is the wife of, because divided by is wife, right? C is the wife of D, that is D is the husband of C, right? So this is the family tree that we can draw. Now which of the following is true? Is C the mother of A? C is the mother of A? No, C is the mother-in-law of A, right? So this is incorrect. D the mother of B? D is the father of B, so this is also incorrect. D is the father of B, yes, just now we have found out D is the father of B. A is the brother of D? No. A is what? The son-in-law of D, right? Therefore option C is the right answer. Below is a question followed by two statements, each containing some information. Among the 6 family members, how many are males in the family? Okay, so how many males are there is what we are supposed to find. Now we have O, P, Q, R, S and T. We have 6 members. If you look at the first statement, okay, we have Q, we have P, we have T, we have R, O and P, but not any information about S. The first statement doesn't have any information about S, right? Therefore, we can't really ascertain as to how many males are there in the family. Therefore, statement 1 alone is not sufficient. So let's try with statement 2 alone. Statement 2 alone, you have T, you have an S, you have an R, O and T, right? But you don't have any information about what? You don't have any information about Q. What else? You don't have any information about P as well. Therefore, we can't ascertain the genders of P and Q by using the second statement alone. Therefore, see, when the first statement alone is not sufficient and the second statement alone is not sufficient, the final weapon that we have is to combine both the statements. Let's combine both the statements. Let me draw the family tree. Okay, as told earlier, I'll follow the same conventions. Okay, fine. So let me draw it. Q is the wife of P. So Q is the wife of P. Okay, then and the mother of T. So Q is the mother of T. Q is the mother of T. We are not sure of the gender of T yet. Okay, R is the grandmother of O and R is the mother of P. Okay, R is the mother of P and she's also grandmother of O. So O has to be in this generation, right? Somewhere here, right? Okay, what else? So the first statement is done. Let's also combine it with the information given in the second statement. Okay, T is the granddaughter of S. Okay, so T is the granddaughter of S. Okay, fine. So we are not sure of the gender of S because S can also be the uh, parents of Q. Okay, so you can't really say that S is the husband of R. Is it clear? S can be father or mother of Q as well, right? Therefore, we can't really get the gender of S. Okay, so T is the granddaughter of S. So the only thing that we can be sure of is T is a female. R is the grandmother of O and T. Yeah, R is already the grandmother of O and T, right? Okay, she's already the grandmother of O and T, right? You've got this. Again, we can't be really sure of the gender of O, right? Okay. So even on combining, this is the family tree that we were able to draw. In this, we are able to find the genders of P, R, Q and T, but not S and O. Therefore, we can't really find as to how many males are there in the family despite combining both the statements. Therefore, option A is the right answer. Both the statements 1 and 2 together are not sufficient. Now, statement, should all the government departments in the country be handed over to the private sector? Okay, now we have got some arguments. What is that? No, we should not hand over all the like departments to the private sector, because the private sector will not be sure to handle the entire government departments which are made for the social services. Okay, so the argument says that we can't really hand over all the departments that the government handles to the private sector, because government departments, they are usually for what, like social services, right? So if we handle the departments, the entire departments to the private sector, then these essential services may not be able to reach the common audience, right? The common man, right? Because it may result in the price hike, right? Because these government department, because this private sector is profit oriented, right? So therefore they'll try to raise, they'll try to raise the prices as such. Therefore the common man may not get benefited, the social services may not reach the people as such, right? Therefore this is a strong argument. It says no, it should not be privatized. Let's look at the second statement. It says that yes, the private sector should be handed over to the department should be handed over to the private sector, because they can handle it better than the government. Yes, this also makes sense, because the private sector, as told earlier, they are profit oriented, but they also provide better services. Because they are profit oriented, because they want more sales, therefore they offer better services and charge more too, right? Therefore they will be able to handle departments better than the government, that is for sure, right? So this is also a strong argument. One says no, one says yes, but both are relevant to the statement at hand. Therefore both the first and the second statements are strong. So option D is the right answer. How is Seema related to Ram? Okay, so let's look at the first statement alone first. Ram has a brother. Okay, Ram, he has a brother who is Mohan. Next, Mohan is a son of Rahul. So Mohan is a son of Rahul, and Seema is Rahul's sister. So Rahul's sister is Seema. Fine. Now can we answer the question from the statement 1 alone? How is Seema related to Ram? Seema is, Ram's aunt, right? Paternal aunt, right? Because Seema is the sister of Ram's father. Therefore Seema is the paternal aunt of Ram. So yes, we can really ascertain the relationship between Seema and Ram using the statement 1 alone, right? Still we'll also check for the second statement alone. Rahul is the father of Ram. Okay, Rahul, he is the father of Ram also, and brother of Seema. So Rahul is also the brother of Seema. Seema. Right? Now what is the relationship between Seema and Ram? It's the same thing, right? Seema is the paternal aunt of Ram. Therefore, using the second statement alone also, you are able to answer the question as to what is the relationship between Seema and Ram. Therefore, either the statement 1 alone or the statement 2 alone are sufficient to answer the question. Therefore, option A is the right answer. A statement is followed by two assumptions. Consider the statement and decide which of the following assumptions is or are appropriate. Okay, let's look at the statement. The workers are protesting against the new incentive policy which has been implemented this year by the management. Okay, now they are protesting against the new incentive policy. So there is protest that is going on, and then there is new incentive policy that's implemented. Now assumption is something that combines or relates these two. There is a protest because of the new incentive policy. So what should have been the underlying assumption? They are protesting because they are not really happy with the new incentive policy, right? That can be one of the possible assumptions, right? The workers are protesting, and then there is a new incentive policy. So why are they protesting? Because they are not really happy with the new incentive policy. Therefore that could have been a possible assumption. If you look at the assumptions, the workers are not happy with the changes that have been made in the new incentive policy. This is on point, right? The same thing that we have discussed. let's look at the second assumption that's given. The management has assured the workers for redrafting the policy to avoid further protests. No, this is not an assumption as such. This is a damage control, right? So the management is trying to, console uh, the workers by saying that they'll redraft the policy to their advantage. Therefore, this is just the damage control. After they protested, the management has come to the rescue here, right? To prevent any further damage to happen. Therefore, it is not really an assumption. Okay, this is something that this the decision that the management has taken after the workers protested. Therefore, the second one is not an assumption as such. Therefore, only the first one is an implicit assumption in this particular case. So option D is the right answer. Seven friends, they are standing in a row. Q is to the immediate right of U. Okay, Q is to the immediate right of U. Fine. Then I'm just taking the fourth statement. U is between Q and R. U is between Q and R. So R has to come here, right? So let me write it here. Fine. This is also done. Then O is to the immediate right of Q. O is to the immediate right of Q and to the immediate left of S. So O is to the immediate left of S, right? This is what we have. This is how we can draw. Now finally, P is between T and S. So P is in between T and S. So let me draw T here. So P lies here. So P is in between T and S, right? So this is the the arrangement that we can form here, right? So now what are we supposed to find? Sorry. So what was there? Are you supposed to be S here, right? Okay. Who is exactly in the middle of the row? So clearly O is exactly in the middle of the row, right? Therefore option D is the right answer. So the way we write the constraints also matters, okay? You'll have to write down the constraints in such a way that you get the least number of possible arrangements. In this case, we've got exactly one possible arrangement, which is this, in which O sits in the middle of the row. Okay, thank you guys. Let's meet in the next lecture.